Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Voltron Collab egg machine that is coming to North America this Monday. So, the Voltron Collab is an exclusive rare egg machine that will be only available to North America, and this is a milestone opportunity because it is giving North American players the chance or opportunity to hopefully start bridging the gap between the disparity of the English servers and the Japan servers, because there are a lot of cards available in Japan that we do not have, and that obviously means we are lacking certain degrees of utility or active skills, leader skills, and team composition. So by having an exclusive collab, this will hopefully circumnavigate some of the licensing issues that are involved when you try and import a collaboration from Japan to North America, because we would be able to simply reskin the cards, and by reskinning, that means you are basically copying the card, except you're changing the artwork, the name of the creature or monster, and basically it's allowing you to duplicate it without having those licensing problems. So this is a great way to hopefully save money, because maybe some of the collabs in Japan are not as appealing because maybe Voltron resonates stronger with the North American audience because it is a show that some people have grown up on, so there's a lot of nostalgia associated with it. So hopefully the goal of Voltron is to showcase the support North American players have for Gung-Ho, and I'm just going to go be reviewing all the cards as well as my hopes for what collaborations bring and possibly the future of Voltron moving forward. So, in the Voltron Rare Machine, there are a total of 8 cards of varying rarities, and in terms of rankings, they fall into place along here. I will be going into detail over them as I progress through. However, collaboration, one thing I want to mention is that Voltron as a whole is an interesting situation, because what makes collaborations exciting or appealing for players to spend money on or roll heavily is that they obviously bring unique active skills and unique utility that we can't acquire elsewhere, so that's the one aspect, but they also hopefully have some nostalgia, appealing artwork, and to a certain extent the sense of being a limited time offer, because it creates incentives to roll more. And for Voltron, even though I'm not a fan of the style of the artwork, I honestly feel that the Voltron artwork was quite sloppy, and it looks out of place for Puzzles and Dragons. Because, in all honesty, a lot of the cards have open or blank spaces in the artwork, and the icons themselves, a lot of them are just simply off-center, and they just feel that they're very flat from a color palette perspective. Like, it just looks very two-dimensional, very flat, doesn't seem like they're alive whatsoever, and they're just empty overall. And it makes people feel disappointed even before they look at the active skills and abilities. And unfortunately, the abilities themselves are actually somewhat disappointing. Perhaps our expectations for collabs has been set too high through Bleach, Final Fantasy, and the Heroine Rare Machine, but for a North American debut, or as an exclusive debut, we would be hoping for something a little more appealing, a little more exciting, because there was a lot of hype built up behind Voltron. And for the most part, the entire Voltron collab is a simple reskin of an existing JP Crows collab, except we are missing one of the best cards from it. So we are having a reskin of one of the lesser Japan collabs, missing one of the best cards, combined with poorly designed artwork. This is not shaping up to be a very appealing collaboration overall, and this is saddening because the whole idea of Voltron is to hopefully showcase that there is support from North America to Gung-Ho, that we are valued customers and players. And unfortunately, combining poorly designed cards from at least an art perspective as well as viability perspective is basically setting us up to fail before it even begins. And my underlying fear of all of this is that it's going to perform poorly, and from a business perspective, if it performs poorly, we may never have another chance to actually have other exclusive collaborations that would at least allow us to bridge the gap between Japan exclusive cards / active abilities with North American content. So this might simply even divide the rift between Japan and North America / EU even further, and that is a little depressing thought overall. However, I'm going to at least review the cards. There's not too much to say about some of them because they are relatively lackluster overall. However, Voltron himself is at least the top prize from this collab, and Voltron is at least an appealing card overall. They have 3 skill boosts, they have Bind Immunity, Recover Bind, as well as Devil Killer. So their awakenings are actually quite potent. And their active skill does change the leftmost column to fire, right to hearts on a 9-turn cooldown. So you can at least heal and deal damage on a variety of mono fire teams, as well as having that recover bind awakening. You are able to at least clear a row with a row of hearts 3 turns of bind. So that is actually quite valuable. So he does have value as a sub, and as a leader, he is able to form a 4 times health, 600.25 times attack team when matching 2 fire crosses. Unfortunately, he is restricted to using physicals and machine cards, as well as having no recovery multiplier. So some people might think, oh, Voltron kind of feels like Aizen. You're bind immune, you have a hard-hitting double color cross leader skill, but unfortunately, what makes Aizen superior is that he has a recovery component, because 4 times health means nothing in endgame content. Anything that is longer will not be favorable for Voltron because you will not be able to heal. Physical and machine types are a very restricted subpool to begin with, and having very poor recovery overall. So the team, even with max 297, may hit 2500 base recovery. Throw on the Maniac recovery badge, you're still not hitting even respectable amounts of recovery, and while you may have 100,000 plus health in solo mode, you take a couple big hits, you never heal up. So you are only going to be successful in shorter dungeons, and that is problematic. You do have at least skill boost to have active skills up in time, but you are not going to be able to challenge end-game content, and it's just going to feel like it's a sad Aizen for the most part. However, like, the sub potential is there because they do have those skill boosts and the bind immunity. So you may... I'm glad I live in a very safe neighborhood. The response time is brilliant here, but it's just going to be a bit of an awkward card. You may roll Voltron and be like, oh, nice, I got the top card, but it's not that impactful for a collaboration roll, just maybe because we have things like Aizen, Mary, Ilmina to compare them against. And unlike, say, Reincarnate Astaroth, who is kind of a very 4 times health, 64 times attack leader, you don't actually have the base healers to use for recovery, so you are going to have a tough time even healing up. I guess one thing you can keep in mind is the 3 skill boosts are a somewhat rare commodity and will help Yamamoto teams if you need to have more efficient farming aspects. Now we go into the 5-star roles of Shiro, and they have 2 skill boosts, an attacker killer, and a couple other awakenings. They remove locked orbs and randomly spawn 3 light and 3 dark orbs on a 7-turn cooldown. And their only shining aspect is removing locked orbs, because in all honesty, creating 3 light and 3 dark does not help any real potent team outside of maybe Indra Vitra combinations, but even then those teams are not the greatest. So Shiro is just going to simply act as an awkward inherit if you have no other choice in terms of removing locked orbs. So that is disappointing, and their leader skill, while it does deal 2 times counterattack damage, that means you have to take a hit. So maybe you can kill some resolve bosses, but you have to actually be able to survive their 1% execution ability. And the only real example is Zeus and Hera, who has plenty of other ways to circumnavigate, such as counterattacks like, say, Anubis, Astaroth, or delays after 2 turns. Like, there are many ways to deal with Zeus and Hera, so this is not a unique nor novel way, and I place them in the question mark category. I forgot to mention, Voltron is double check mark. Allura is actually the other amazing card from this collab. Voltron and her are the 2 shining stars, because Allura does have 7 combo awakening, she does have guard break, she also has devil killer, as well as modest other support awakenings. But her active skill is actually quite powerful. You are able to convert hearts, jammers, and poison orbs into light, as well as a 3-turn light skyfall buff on an 8-turn cooldown. So you can favorably compare this to Pollux, who is 7 turns with haste, but instead of the haste, you trade haste plus 1 turn cooldown for 3 turns of light skyfalls. So this is actually quite a powerful active skill overall, especially for mono light teams. In addition, the 7 combo awakening means that she can hit for double damage when you hit 7 or more combos, and the guard break allows you to actually void enemies' defenses when you trigger rainbow activation. So that is actually quite important, because if you are, say, playing Reincarnate Kushinada Hime, you want to use her healer typing and the light coverage if you don't actually have the blue Valkyrie or any other Valkyrie, I guess, at that point, as an alternative for the defense break. So this is a great alternative. Like, this is a reasonable alternative. And while the blue Valkyrie may be superior, mostly because she has double CPA as well as a shorter base cooldown, this is not to say Allura is a terrible card. She's actually quite powerful. In addition, that God typing as well as beneficial active skill will have merits on future Light Metatron teams, because Light Metatron wants to have Rainbow activation to trigger Guard Break, as well as flooding the board with Light Orbs, and the Skyfall buff is going to help tremendously, because for people who have Apollo, you have to keep him in green or his Awoken form, because Reincarnated takes away his wood typing. So this is actually a very viable light wood card to fill the gaps for Rainbow activation for Light Metatron. So this is actually quite an exciting card for the most part. Unfortunately, her main downside is one of the worst artworks I've ever seen. Like, it's so empty, and it just, she's off center, her icon. It just looks weird to me. But overall, it's a great card to own. Unfortunately, we're going to start going a little bit downhill, but at least Keith is slowing that pace. Awakenings are not too important. He has a 4-star role, but his active skill is the main shining feature. He does convert the top row to fire, as well as recovering 50% of your base hit points on a 9-turn cooldown. So that has tremendous potential on mono fire teams, because not only do you create a guaranteed row of fire orbs, you also provide a tremendous amount of healing. And say on Krishna teams, you guarantee yourself 6 out of the 9 orbs required for activation, as well as healing a very large amount of health. Krishna teams in solo mode will probably hit around 60,000 health, so you're recovering 30,000. So now you can deal damage and heal at the same time, so that is meaningful and beneficial. Furthermore, say on Yamamoto teams, when you're speed farming content, being able to form a row for free is great because it saves you time. You can form the row, match, and you are happy. Furthermore, for people who like to pair Yamamoto with Ganesha and use Wangren to swap leaders to at least have some multiplier, this is even more impactful because Wangren requires you to be at full health for his leader skills multiplier, whereas, and then because of the healing component, if you take a hit, you can heal and deal damage. So I feel that those heavy farmers who have Yamamoto and Ganesha will appreciate Keith the most, but for the average player, it's going to be a little awkward overall outside of perhaps mono fire teams as a situational inherit. Lance is another 4-star role, and he is... It's hard to find anything good to say about Lance, unfortunately. His active skill deals 100 times water damage to a single enemy, which is reduced by element and defense, and 2 times attack to machines and attackers on an 11-turn cooldown. So it's a very, very, very budget damage nuke, because 100 times attack is not that impactful, even if you use a maxed out, say, Claymore or one of those, I forgot those, that's Weapons Series girls. They have co-op boost, high attack. Even then, you're going to hit for maybe 300,000 damage, which is not enough to button anything meaningful at this point in time. Furthermore, being able only to hit one target makes it completely pointless. If it was a mass attack, at least it gives you some options. But then again, in, say, start-in farming, it's not high enough to deal with the devils as an inherit, and you have plenty of other options to button your way through the first 4 floors. So there's no actual place to use Lance efficiently. Furthermore, the 2 times attack for attackers and machines is completely minimal at best. Like, 2 times enhance is not that spectacular, especially for restrictive typings. So I placed Lance in X. Keith was a single checkmark, by the way. Next, we come to Pidge. And Pidge has 9 awakenings. So you think, wow, 9 awakenings on a 4-star. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, their active skill is the opposite of fantastic. They provide 1.2 times attack for wood attributes for 5 turns, as well as 1 second to orb movement time for 5 turns. So you have a very high uptime on these buffs, but those buffs are horribly small for the most part. And the awakenings, while you do have double SBR, as well as co-op boost, may think interesting, but in co-op you don't need SBR, and if you don't play in co-op, you don't have the co-op boost. So there's no real merit to having both at the same time. In addition, you also have problems because Wood has so many other good double SBR cards available, and it's just an awkward card overall. Like maybe like Awoken Liu Bei teams might like the double SBR, or at least with co-op boost it does help. But again, we're stretching it very thin, and the buffs are so insignificant for the most part. The only time they'd be useful is if you're overriding a time debuff or trying to bait out a status void. Otherwise, no real use for Pidge. Hunk is the next 4-star, and they do 99 true damage to all enemies, so it's a nice mass attack for true damage, as well as converting darks and jammers to light. So it is a true damage inherit, which does deal with pre-draws, any other high defense monster, but that's all it is. And because the fact that it's a longer cooldown, it's harder to inherit or incorporate as easily, as well as the fact that it does produce light orbs. So any other team that's not mono light will not like this active skill because you may be taking away a crucial orb. So if you remove those dark orbs, a lot of teams can't function. So yes, you may remove jammers, but you have to keep in mind, what am I using those light orbs for? If it's not being used for anything, it's hard to justify Hunk's usage as an inherit. Therefore, I place them into the question mark category, just because it does have at least merits. It is a true damage inherit. And finally, we come to Coran, and Coran is a little awkward. He does unlock all orbs, which is beneficial as an inherit, but the orbs he generates don't have much place on any current team. Dark to water and wood to light. So you're basically effectively gaining a water and light board. And no rainbow team wants the colors of hearts, fire, water, light. No current meta team uses both water and light orbs. So you're basically going to be using Coran as a very budget active skill for an orb changer that doesn't remove hard orbs for mono light and mono water teams. But his main usage is going to be to unlock jammers or unlock orbs if you have no other alternative. And I almost kind of keep him akin to Gan Ning, mostly because Gan Ning is kind of an awkward card as well. It generates 2 colors, but no one uses those colors that efficiently. But Gan Ning at least has beneficial awakenings and base stats otherwise. So, in conclusion, the Voltron Collab is a significant milestone for Puzzle & Dragons for North America because it is our first debut collab. And it's just really truly unfortunate that the cards, the artwork, don't live up to the hype and expectations that we did have, because we just got a reskin of an average JP collab missing one of the better cards. So we're being treated a bit like second-class citizens here. Like, why couldn't we at least have all the good cards in a lesser collab? Like, it doesn't really make much sense, because it is really just a reskin for the most part. Maybe we have too high expectations, and this is a debut for North America, but I honestly feel that there is going to be a half-hearted response overall from the community, because if the collab is not appealing or enticing enough to roll, there may not be a very resounding financial result from the collab, and it may hinder future releases for North American or European exclusive collaborations. So this is problematic for the most part, and I guess we can always try and view as a glass half full, glass half empty point of view, because this is at least a stepping stone in the right direction. We did gain something new that we've never had before. Maybe this will be a stepping stone moving forward, because that might help bridge the gap between North America and Japan content. But I just hope that the potential lower response rate does not put off gung-ho from releasing these types of collaborations in the future, because it would be nice if we did have access to a lot of the Japan exclusive cards, because they are powerful and they do fulfill interesting holes in our monster box. So let me know what you think about the Voltron collab overall. Do you like the artwork? Do you think the cards are powerful enough to worth rolling? And if you do plan on rolling, how much do you actually plan on risking in terms of Magic Stone usage? Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you all have a fantastic evening, and happy puzzling!